In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Loving God, as we remember EDSA 40 years later, renew in us the same spirit of vigilance and compassion. Heal the wounds of injustice, division, and forgetfulness that continue to challenge our nation. Form us to be Filipinos who defend truth, protect freedom, and serve the common good wherever you may send us. Bless our leaders with integrity and wisdom, and inspire the youth to cherish our history and to shape a future rooted in justice and peace. May the legacy of EDSA continue to guide us as a people of faith, courage, and hope. Even as we gather here in Rome, we remain united in prayer with our kababayans in the Philippines. Renew in us the spirit of courage, truth, and solidarity, and help us live the values of EDSA. Bless our nation and guide us to always choose justice, peace, and the common good. This we ask through Christ our Lord.
Amen. Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. At batiin din natin yung katabi natin ng magandang araw. Sa ngalan po ng mga misyonero SBD dito sa Colegio del Verbo Divino at malugod ko po kayong tinatanggap sa paggunita natin sa ika-4 na pong araw o taon ng anibersaryo ng EDSA. Sana araw lang pala yan. Nais ko lamang malaman muna kung sino sa atin ngayon ang naroon sa EDSA noong Pebrero 1986. Maaari bang tumayo kung sino man ang narito? May 4 pala na kasama ng kasaysayan. 5.
Ako nasa damo.
Sino ba rito ang hindi pa ipinapanganak noong 1986? So meron din. At yung hindi ko tatawagin, ibig sabihin kami yung mahaba na ang karanasan. At ang ating sabi nga rito, huwag po tayong mag-alala dahil sa araw na ito ay itinangin na natin para bilang sambayan ng Pilipino ay hindi lamang gunitain, kundi sa pamamagitan ng ating pagtitipon ay lalo pa nating pagyamanin, palalimin, at higit na maunawaan ang kasaysayang palaging susubukan ng ating pagkatao at ang pagka-Pilipino. Narito po tayo sa Roma, malayo sa ating bayan sa Pilipinas, pero yung puso natin ay napakalapit sa ating itinatanging bansa. Yung adhikain natin na kapayapaan, katarungan, at kaginhawaan, adhikain ng bawat Pilipino, nasa Pilipinas man o nasa labas ng bansa, ay nananatiling mga mithiin na hindi pagganap nating nakakamtan, kundi patuloy pa rin nating pinananagutang maging maisakatuparan. Ang EDSA ay hindi lamang bahagi ng ating kasaysayan. Ito ay bahagi ng ating konsensya bilang Pilipino. Ngunit aminin po natin, matapos ang 40 taon, pinaghihiwalay pa rin tayo ng ating mga pagkakaiba. Sa kulay na ating tinatayuan, sa antas ng ating mga pamumuhay, sa edukasyon na ating tinapos, at maging sa mga usaping gaya ng nagaganap ngayon sa The Hague. hati pa rin ang bayan sa pag-unawa sa hustisya, sa karapatang pantao, at sino ang mananagutan. Kaya ang pagtitipon natin sa hapong ito, sa tema, basahin nga natin sabay-sabay, Examination of Conscience, Communal Reflection toward Historical Honesty and Moral Clarity. Ito ay hindi romantikong pagbabalik tanaw sa kasaysayan. Ang habang ito ay sama-samang paglalakbay, pakikinig, pagsusuri, pagninilay ng ating sarili at ang ating kaluluwa bilang isang sambayanang Pilipino. Merong mga hindi Pilipino tayong kasama rito. May mga kasama tayong mga galing sa Indonesia, may mga kasama ng SBD o iba pa. So hindi lang tayo ang nagmamahal sa ating bansa. Marami rin palang mga inako na ang bayang Pilipinas. Salamat ha! Dahil sa pamamagitan nyo, lalo namin napapatinag na kung kaya nyong mahalin ang bansa namin, napakahirap ngayong mahalin. Merong mga taong nais tumaya sa ating bansa. Tayo pa kaya? May nais lang natin natanong, may natutunan ba tayo sa EDSA? Kung noon ay laban ito sa isang malinaw na diktadura, ano kaya ang hamon ng kalayaan na isinusubat sa atin ngayon ng EDSA? Ano ang katotohanan ng kailangan nating harapin upang maging totoo ang ating pagpapalaya? Sa inyong lahat, mga kapwa mananampalataya, mga laikong naririto, palakpakan niya natin muna ang mga laikong kasama natin mula sa ilang mga komunidad. Yan. Ang ating mga kasamahan religyoso at religyosa, palakpakan din natin. Yes. Ang mga klerong naririto, palakpakan din natin. Yes. At ang mga kapwang naririto, at ang mga nag-organisa, ang Pinoy Ilustrado sa Roma. Utang na loob ng pangalan niya. Panuhan ba ng mga Kastila yan? Pinoy Ilustrado sa Roma. At ang bawat isang naririto, mapagpalang tinatanggap ko kayo sa tahanang ito. Tahanan ng Verbo Divino, Verbiti, sapagkat tayo'y tumatayo bilang Pilipino, gabay at ginagabayan ng salita ng Diyos. Naway sa ating pagtitipon, maging espasyo ito ng tapang, ng katapatan, ng katotohanan, at ng pagmamahal natin sa ating bayan. Muli, bienvenuti a tutti.
EDSA, 4 Days That Change a Nation. In February 1986, the Philippines stood at the edge of history. For 20 years, one man had ruled with iron authority. But in 4 extraordinary days, unarmed citizens would bring down a dictatorship. Not with bullets, but with courage. This is the story of the people power. Day 1. Just after midnight in an exclusive village in Makati, a secret meeting was underway. Inside the home of Juan Ponce Enrile, military officers were finalizing a coup against President Ferdinand Marcos. The plan was bold. Commandos led by Colonel Gregorio Gringo Onasan would storm Malacanang Palace. Marcos and Imelda would be arrested. A new government would be announced on national television. But the plot had already been betrayed. Inside the palace, intelligence officers had been warned. Troops were repositioned. Armored vehicles were deployed. Searchlights were aimed at the river. By dawn, the rebels discovered the truth. Their attack route was guarded. Their operation was compromised. Their coup had collapsed. Arrests began, rumors spread, reformist officers faced capture. Enrile made a choice. He would not run. He regrouped at Camp Aguinaldo and called his closest ally. That afternoon, Fidel D. Ramos agreed to join him. Together, they publicly broke with Marcos. Under bright lights and rolling cameras, they declared their defection. It was a direct challenge to power. That night, something unexpected happened. Across Manila, radio stations carried the news. Then a familiar voice went on air. Jaime Cardinal Sin, the Archbishop of Manila, appealed to the nations. He called on citizens to protect Enrile and Ramos, to prevent violence, to stand for peace, and the people listened. Cars poured into EDSA. Families brought food and candles. Nuns carried rosaries. Students held banners. Workers brought water. By midnight, thousands surrounded Camp Crame and Aguinaldo. A secret military plot had become a people's movement. Day 2. By dawn, EDSA was filled. Tens of thousands stood shoulder to shoulder. Inside Camp Crame, Ramos knew the truth. Without civilians, the rebellion would fall. Radio became their lifeline. Broadcasters relayed messages. Volunteers coordinated food brigades. Citizens shared information. Then came the tanks. From Fort Bonifacio, armored columns rolled toward Ortigas. Their orders were simple: clear the road, confront the rebels. But when they arrived, they did not meet soldiers. They met mothers, nuns, students, grandparents. Women knelt on the asphalt. Civilians locked arms. Prayers filled the air. Steel barrels pointed at human faces. General Artemio Tadyar faced a nation. Orders came to advance. The tanks did not move. People climbed onto them, offered flowers, wiped soldiers' faces. By afternoon, the armored units withdrew. Cheers erupted. Tears flowed. That day, Filipinos discovered something powerful. Courage is contagious. Day 3. Just after midnight, tension returned. Camp Crame was quiet. Ramos walked the perimeter without bodyguards. Radio Veritas had been shut down, but the revolution did not fall silent. In a hidden studio, June Cately went back on air. She called it Radio Bandido. With improvised equipment and a weak signal, she spoke to the nation. "We are all brothers and sisters," she repeated. Teenagers helped relay messages. Nuns guarded the station. Volunteers hit transmitters. All night her voice carried hope. Then came the helicopters. 7 gunships descended toward Camp Crame. The crowd braced for attack. Instead, white flags appeared. Led by Antonio Sotelo, the pilots defected. The Air Force joined the people. Cheers shook EDSA. Hope surged. By morning, television stations were falling into rebel hands. Broadcasters announced, "Now you will get the truth." Marcos went on air, insisting he was still in control. But his authority was slipping. Unit by unit, hour by hour. Day 4. Tuesday began with confusion. Fireworks lit the sky. Rumors spread. Some celebrated too early. At bridges, gunfire wounded civilians. The danger was not over. Inside Malacanang, chaos ruled. Suitcases were packed. Documents burned. Valuables created. Imelda prayed. Generals argued. Washington intervened. At dawn, Marcos called U.S. Senator Paul Laxalt. "Should I step down?" he asked. The answer was clear. Cut and cut clean. Meanwhile, at Club Filipino, history was preparing. Dressed in yellow, Corazon Aquino refused to move her inauguration. "This must be public," she said. At 10:46 a.m., she took her oath. The crowd wept. They sang, "Bayan Ko." Across the river, Marcos held his own ceremony. But his broadcast was cut. His power vanished mid-sentence. By afternoon, loyal units collapsed. By evening, helicopters arrived. Inside the palace, Marcos lay ill. His family gathered. Slowly he stood. Silently, he walked out. Soldiers saluted. At 9:05 p.m., the helicopters lifted. Marcos was gone. Minutes later, the announcement spread. The Marcoses have fled. Manila erupted. People danced in the streets. Church bells rang. Strangers embraced. Crowds entered Malacanang. Chandeliers still glowed. Food remained on tables. A palace once sealed by fear stood open. Power has returned to the people. Later, Aquino reflected. There was no script, no director, only people. What happened in EDSA was unprecedented. No civil war, no armed uprising, no mass violence. Only conscience, only unity, only faith. Millions stood unarmed before guns and won. They show the world. Dictatorships fall when fear disappears. From secret meetings to candlelit roads, from tanks to purrs, from hidden microphones to open palaces. 4 days changed a nation. They proved that ordinary people, when united, can rewrite history. This was people power. People power did not end in 1986. It lives wherever courage defeats fear. It breeds whenever citizens choose truth over silence. It rises when ordinary people stand together for what is right. The revolution was never just about removing a dictator. It was about remembering who we are. Today, the responsibility is ours to defend democracy, to protect the truth, to choose unity over division, to stand peacefully, firmly for justice. The spirit of EDSA is not a memory. It is a mission, and the people power revolution continues through us.
Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. So, nung panahon po na yon, ako ay hindi pa madre. 3 months before I joined the Benedictine Sisters. It was a Sunday. My sisters and I wanted to go, but we were afraid dahil ang tatay ko po ay may sakit sa puso, baka hindi niya kami mayagan. But then, after some time from the church, while at home, he said, "Oh, hindi ba kayo pupunta sa EDSA? Nananawagan ng kardinal." And I said, "Yes." We were living in Pasig, so malapit lang po yun. Then, when we were there, we did not join any group. Kami lang pong magkakapatid at pamangkin ko. Because before EDSA, we were always reading materials, Malaya, listening to Radio Veritas. And then in our neighborhood, we talk about what is happening in our society. Kaya po yon sinabi nga, courage ay contagious, no? With the courage of Cardinal Sin, our parish priest in Pasig, mga CICM fathers, yun po ang nagbigay ng lakas ng loob sa amin na pumunta. So we were there nung time na merong helicopter na nandun sa itaas, nakatigil. Hindi namin alam, sabi, bakit hindi siya tumatakbo? Yung pala yun na yung may planong magbagsak ng bomba, no? But really what gave us courage to go was what my father told us. He said, "You go, the cardinal is calling for the people to go there." Hindi ako natatakot kahit mamatay kayo. Basta tumayo kayo para sa mga Pilipino, sabi niya. Pero kung mayroong akong anak na military, hihiya ko. Pero ang tatay ko po ay military. Dati. No? So yun po ang sandali. But after that, we still went, no? Kahit parang nakakatakot, pero pumupunta pa rin po kami magkakapatid hanggang dumating na nga yung time na sinabi na Marcos fled already. Then after that, we followed the Cory Aquino kahit saan, kahit anong mga rallies, pinupuntahan namin. Why? Dahil gusto rin po namin ng pagbabago, gusto namin ng magandang Pilipinas para sa aming mga pamangkin. Yun lang po.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Well, nung panahon po nun ay ako po ay nag-aaral sa San Beda College. I just left the minor seminary and then entered the college of San Beda din ng first and second year. Second year na po ako nun. And then that time, February po siya nangyari, pero I was able to receive a letter from the seminary already, from San Carlos Seminary, na tinatanggap muli nila ako bilang isang seminarista. And that time then, I canceled na lahat ng mga classes sa mga universities. And all the students, especially yung mga rallyista na mga estudyante, yung mga may pinaglalaban, lalong-lalo na sa kapayapaan natin, ay nandoon, nakikibaka at nakikisa sa mga tao na nagpunta sa EDSA. Ako naman, on my end, gusto ko pong makiisa sa mga kasama kong seminarista dati. Yung mga klase ko na nasa San Carlos Seminary. So I joined them. And actually, doon kami muna sa EDSA shrine. Yung Ortigas Avenue. Kung saan andun yung mga tanke. At we were behind, praying the rosary behind the tank. No? And then the second day, nagpunta po ako ng Krame after ng EDSA. Krame. And then third day, yun yung nag-intervene na ang mga Amerikano, pinadala yung kanilang F-15 ata yun. Kasi nga, sabi ni Sister kanina, may banta na pasabugin yung mga tao doon sa EDSA. So, I don't know how the Americans intervene, pero nung biglang pumasok yung F-15 sa kalagitnaan ng EDSA, we were like celebrating. I don't know why we were celebrating because siguro po ay mangingialam ng mga Amerikano. So, malaya, wala na si Marcos. Kasi yung rumors na nawala na si Marcos was really a point for parang jubilation sa mga tao noon. And then pumasok pa yung mga Amerikano na sa kanilang mga pagpaparamdam siguro na in one weekend parang ayun, kaya natin kalabanin si Marcos, parang gano'n ang dating na message. So hindi, huwag kayong it was a hope on my end na ay okay, mangingialam ang Amerikano. Usually naman pagka ganyan, nangialam ang Amerikano, they would like change as well sa government ng Pilipinas, especially. Any gobyerno, pag nangialam sila, meron silang parang ganong katangian Ewan ko kung katangian nila yun kagalingan. Kapag ka nagganyan, meron silang gusto rin advocacy na ipapaalam sa mga alam. Pero hidden yun usually hidden agenda ng mga Amerikano yan. Pero yun po, I was there for 3 days. The first day, second day, and third, until dumating siya. And syempre, yung mga news sa we were trying to protect also si June Kitley, who was really announcing what's going on day and night sa EDSA. Kaya secret talaga po yung lugar niya kasi nga hinahanap din siya ng mga secret agent ng gobyerno noon para patahimikin nga kasi nga it was really yung her mandate was coming from what the Cardinal is saying na we unite together as one Filipino so that we can put down the dictatorship. Yan po yan.
Maraming salamat, Father Albert Alejo po. I was not in EDSA, but we were in doing People Power Revolution. So, noong 1985 ho kasi, inassign ako sa Davao, sa high school. At nung nagtuturo ako sa high school, nag-aalaga po ako ng mga political detainees. Pero nung nagmamonitor kami, yung mga estudyante sa Ateneo de Davao, nagmamonitor kami, sabi, bobombahin daw ang Bombo Radyo. Sabi namin, o sige, puntahan natin yung Bombo Radyo. Let's protect Bombo Radyo. Kasi yun na lang yung lifeline So pumunta kami sa Bombo Radyo, tapos ang balita, pupunta na pala lumilipad na yung helicopter ni Marcos papunta hindi sa Pauay, kundi sa Hawaii. Sabi namin, di nagkakatuwa na kami. Sabi namin, ano ginagawa natin dito sa Bombo Radyo? Tayo, punta tayo sa plaza. Tapos ito na yung reporter ng Bombo Radyo. Sabi, mga kababayan, meron pong mga atinista dito na magmamarcha. Siguro mga 15 sila. Tiyak mo na, nagdadasal pa ho sila. O ngayon, lumalakad na po sila papunta sa plaza. Baka naman kayo, meron dyan, gising pa dyan. Punta rin kayo sa plaza. So nagmarcha po kami patungo sa plaza ng Davao City. Pero dumaan muna kami sa barracks. Alam niyo ng mga panahon na yun? Take note, 86. Mga panahon na yun, araw-araw may pinapatay. Oo. So, humarap kami, habang dumadano kami sa kalsada, eto na yung mga tao, yung mga iba, nakatuwalya pa, pupungas-pungas, kasi hating gabi noon, di ba? Pagdating namin sa barracks, eto na yung mga military, naka-arma line. Sabi namin, ito yung mga pumapatay. Tapos, sabi namin, walang gagalaw. Walang maghahagis kahit isang butil ng bato. Tapos, kanta kami bayan ko sa harap ng mga military. Pero minus the cameras, minus the international media. Nung nakaraos kami, bayan ko, wow, walang nangyari. Punta na tayo sa plaza. Sa plaza, dumaan kami sa katedral. Sarado yung ilaw ng katedral. Ando doon yung obispo nanonood. Sabi namin, Bishop, baka pwedeng papasukin nyo kami doon sa katedral para magdasal. Sabi, wala naman yan sa schedule kahit man lang buksan yung ilaw. hindi po pwede. Yung isang Jesuit scholastic, umakyat sa belfry. Tapos kinalambang. Tang, tang, tang. Tapos pagdating namin sa plaza, handa dyan na yung mga baffles. Handa na yung mga mga yellow ribbons. Bakit? Kasi the past year, with Nanay Soling, yung nanay ni Duterte, at saka si Father Malasmas, SJ, partner yan sa Yellow Friday movement. Sanay na mag-rally na merong mga baffles. Pagdating sa plaza, tumutugtog niya, tan 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 taran taran. Tapos, nandoon kami, dami-dami ng mga tao, yakapan kami ng yakapan. Wala namang camera hanggang ngayon, wala talagang documentation. Pero, ang saya-saya, dahil umalis na yung diktador. Tapos last na lang, si Cory, sabi, nung revolutionary government, Nanay Suling, pwedeng ikaw mag-mayor? Hindi ako pwede. Kung gusto mo, yung anak ko, si Digong, fiscal yan. O, di na-appoint siyang vice mayor. Tapos nung kumpleto na yung constitution, nagkaroon na ng eleksyon, naboto na mayor, somebody really benefited from that EDSA revolution. It's the Duterte. And he destroyed this legacy. But during the time, the church was really, really in the front line. Hidden and in the front line, but the church was really very active. There was moral clarity where to position ourselves. Maybe this is the challenge now. Thank you.
Last semester, I wrote a research paper on EDSA for my course in contextual theology. That study helped me realize that the church's role in EDSA was not a sudden impulse, but the fruit of years of discernment and listening to the people. Surprisingly, the people also listened to the call of the church. It was not a church revolution, nor a party revolution, but a truly a people power revolution. Miraculously, this mutual listening helped prevent what could have been a far bloodier outcome. This, I think, is the true spirit of EDSA, not the euphoria it has given us. Yet I believe there is little point in dwelling on the euphoria of EDSA, for it was short-lived. As Bishop Jesus Varela puts it, there was one fundamental ingredient of social transformation that was sorely missing: internal conversion. There was no change of heart and attitudes on the part of the people. The euphoria of EDSA failed to translate into meaningful change. Soon, we were back in our old ways. Indeed, EDSA remains a revolution in progress. Now we are being confronted with the reality of increasing support for a populist government. As part of the younger generation, I invite all of us to include in our examination of conscience what Cardinal David shared in his post last February 21. Populist leadership is powerful because it tells a compelling story that there is someone strong enough to fight for ordinary people against perceived enemies. These stories are simple, emotional, and easy to repeat. Meanwhile, the truth, especially about governance, accountability, and institutions, is often complex unless immediately felt. In a world shaped by social media, what is repeated often begins to feel like truth. As a result, perception can slowly replace reality. How then do we respond? Not with ridicule or contempt. When people feel disrespected, they hold on even more tightly to what they believe. What we need instead is patient engagement, listening, asking questions, and telling better stories grounded in truth. We must also recover a deeper understanding of strength, not anger or intimidation, but integrity, compassion, and accountability. It is not enough for a leader to appear strong. That strength must also be humane and just. So, brothers and sisters, I leave you with this question, with this reality at hand. How can the church in the Philippines promote a mutual listening of a nation standing as one in the pursuit of truth and social justice? Pero ang tanong na bumabagabag sa sarili ko ay ito, na itanong ko rin sa inyo. When was the last time you cried for our country?
Many times.
Good to hear that. Nung election ng 2017, presidential election ba yun? I was a PPCRP volunteer. I saw inside the precinct all the manipulations. I was so angry. I was so sad. When I went home that night, I cried. And for me, that was the first time I cried for our country.
Ensa. Kasi takot na yun eh. Nandun na yung story eh.
Sa aming grupo, malinaw kasi alam ko ano yung pinagmulan ng EDSA, bakit naganap ito, what's the background behind. Pero in the same way, malinaw kasi parang yung effect niya hindi makita because of our fragmentation within the country. Yung regionalism, polarity, kaya hindi makita po yung fruits of EDSA. Pero isang malinaw din ay sa grupo, malinaw na yung meaning ng EDSA, yung naging gift natin sa mundo, ay ma-relieve through this simple activity, but yung fruit niya ay ma-rekindle and makita natin sa iba pang paraan kung paano siya ma-express. Malabo yung na isang bahagi po dito, hindi na natin maibabalik yung nakaraan. Pero isang challenge na malinaw sa atin ay with all this revisionism, distortion, ay paano po magiging, how would we practice our prophetic role as a church? Marami po kasi sa amin ay galing sa religious context, ay paano magpapahayag ng boses ang simbahan, hindi na katulad siguro dati, pero it's more of relational level na from the grassroots, no? Doon magsisimula yung pakikipag-dialogue, hindi agad atake, pero relational, dialogical, para makuha yung loob, para mag-drive across yung message na kinakailangang maibahagi. Yun lang.
What is clear for us is yung una, yung joy and kindness na nandun klarong-klaro sa experience of EDSA. Yung tulungan, kung kahit stranger, you help one another, no, how, pagkakaisa, no, how we responded with kindness amidst the violence around. Then, pangalawa is klarong-klaro yung memory of what had happened on that day. No, dalawa sa amin may personal experience of what had happened to EDSA. And they were there and they experienced primarily what is that communion is all about. And no, we are an international group, no? So we come to recognize how our experience, no, it's not just about us as Filipinos, but how it affects the world, no? How it affects also Indonesia, good or bad. And it comes that realization of how we affect one another is clear. But amidst this clarity, the questions remain. No? There are questions that remain, especially on how will we move forward. What is now the prophetic voice of the church? If there was a prophetic voice that was very clear during EDSA, how is then the prophetic voice of the church today? What does this prophetic voice mean today? Is this about, amidst the noises, what is this about? Is it about telling, or is it also a challenge of listening? Is it just about proving something, or is it about getting back or owning back our capacity to be kind, to be good to one another? So maraming
Anong malinaw sa amin, sa aming grupo? Una, it is clear that EDSA changed our life and patuloy na binabago ang buhay natin, ang pagka-Pilipino, ang pagkakatoliko sa diwa ng EDSA. Halimbawa na lang sa pinaglaban against Duterte and what's happening now in The Hague, the ICC. Then, isa pang malinaw is that kung ang simbahan ay gagalaw, may mabuting mangyayari. Pero hindi gagalaw ang simbahan, may hindi magandang mabuting mangyayari o patuloy na ang masama ay iirangin. Ano yung malabo? Ang tanong namin, paano? How? Paano tayo tatawid? Paano tayo gagalaw bilang simbahan? Paano natin mapapanatili ang katotohanan, pagkakaisa, mapapanagot at mapapanumbalik ng ang hustisya sa mga nangyayari sa mundo? Paano tayo magiging simbahan? Yun lang po.
Malinaw po sa amin na ang EDSA ay talaga siya. It's a very significant event in history. Yun ang pahalaga. Malinaw na malinaw. Kasi nga binabalikan natin. Ibig sabihin mahalaga siya. Yun malinaw. Pangalawa, posible, malinaw din pala na with non-violence, change can be possible. Pwede ka lang may pagbabago ng hindi gumagamit ng dahas. Pangatlo, malinaw din na parang ako lang naman share nito. Malinaw, para sa akin, malinaw na parang kulang pa din ang pag-educate, lalo na sa youth, about what to EDSA, what the true meaning of EDSA is. Kasi ako personally, I was born 1986. They call me EDSA baby. Pero para sa akin, walang impact eh. I'm from Mindanao. I grew up with my lolo who was a Marcos loyalist. That's why I saw EDSA 2, EDSA 3. So, pagsasabing EDSA sa akin, it always had a negative connotation. Destabilization, it's always magulo, traffic, etc. I have to confess that it's very late in my life that I came to realize what EDSA is all about and to be politically involved, be involved. That's a very sad confession, but that's true. Yun ang malinaw. At ang challenge para sa amin is, sabi nga ni Father Jojo, maganda yung ginawang video. We commend the one who made the video, si Father Mark, to remaster the video and then siguro reproduce. Kasi nga, kailangan natin ng, hindi naman fake news spreader si Father Mark. I think factual yung mga niya. So, if it is the truth, why spread it, no? Spread the video. And I think we continue to preach. Sabi ko nga, sabi naman sa grupo, magkaiba man ang ating mga political positions, ideologies, or whatever.
but we can still be one. We can still be one, especially when we preach the gospel. I think that's what will unite us. It's Christ. At the end of the day, it's Christ who will unite us, not our political ideas. Thank you very much.
Our group, what is clear to us, what the EDSA People Power has evoked a lot of good memories for us. It has been a source of joy. It has been a source of hope. But it is also a symbol that brought out the best Filipino version of ourselves. But side by side with that conviction that it has been a symbol of the best Filipino, it's also a belief that nothing has happened since then. It is clear to us that there are a lot of Filipinos that are very indifferent to injustice or to respect for human rights and so on. You can enumerate that. What is not clear is that even when those things happen, when we change the leaders, we don't know if it will change us, if it will be a way to change the country for the better. So there are a lot of questions on our part on what kind of change do we want and what can we do personally and collectively.
Yung napapalibutan po ng mga loyalty sa mga isang politika. Ang nanay ko po ay isang fanatic ng Duterte at ang tatay ko ay isang fanatic ng Marcos. Unity! So ako po ay nakonvert lang dahil kaibigan ko pong yung kababata ko ay isang UP graduate. So pinangalan niya ako para kasi ang isa po ako sa mga nakikita o nababasa niyo sa mga Facebook na nakikipag keyboard warrior. Isa ako sa mga ganon before. Last 2016 po, sabi ko sa sarili ko, hindi po ako aalis ng bansa hanggang si Duterte yung nakaupo. Pero at that time po, nandito po ako sa home kasi mali pala ako. Mali ako ng paniniwala na dapat kung ano yung narinig mo, yun lang dapat ang pakikinggan mo. So ngayon po, mas malinaw sa akin yung mga sinabi nila sister ko, kasi ako lang yung nakakita sa group namin. Malinaw po sa akin na ang piliin mo dapat po pala ay tulad ng isang kanta ni Angeline Quinto, piliin mo ang Pilipinas. So parang yan ang nakita ko sa revolution po. Hanggang ngayon po ba pinipili na po ba natin yung Pilipinas? Or maaaring hindi po. Kasi ang pinipili na natin this time or karamihan sa Pilipino o Pilipino ay political dynasty na. So ngayon na malinaw po sa akin na dapat ang piliin pa rin natin yung Pilipinas, hindi po yung tao. Or kung sino naman po yung nakaupo. Yun po yung malinaw sa akin sa revolution. Ang malabo po is bakit po natin na hinahayaan na labunin tayo ng mga fake news or gamitin natin yung social media. Or kung meron po tayong account or maraming followers, gamitin po natin na parang ipalawak po natin o pangawa po natin sa mga tulad ko na hindi pa malinaw or sa mga kabataang pang hindi malinaw yung mga pag-iisip nila tungkol sa politika. Kasi kapag bumoto po tayo ng tama, tuloy-tuloy po yun. So, ngayon ang hindi malinaw bakit nahihirapan tayong piliin ng Pilipinas. Yun po.